Hi guys, welcome to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. This is virtually the second part of a video that I released just a few weeks ago on my EMT 938. If you haven't seen it, take a look at this link, okay? Okay, apart from that, in this episode, we're gonna focus on how to make a special phono cable for our EMT in order to bypass the phono preamp, the inside phono preamp. And this will unlock a series of features. Let's discover them. Okay guys, so as you already know, if you're watching this video, EMT is a package, is a system. They have their arm, they have their cartridges, they have their preamp, obviously their turntables. They also have other types of gear. In any case, for turntables, they have this closed system, but you can bypass them if you want. Like, for example, we have the possibility to install directly underneath the Tonearm, the 929, as well as other Tonearms of the past models. You can bypass the inside phono preamp if you use an external cable. Obviously, you're going to have to make it by yourself, or you can also try to find it online, which it isn't simple, actually, and it's not going to be cheap. If you do this, though, regardless the way, if you have a cable that is connected to the Tonearm, you can, as I said, bypass the phono preamp. Hence, you can use your own phono preamplifier. Hence, you can try to use different kinds of cartridges also, because usually inside an EMT turntable, you're going to have one specific type of phono preamp, MC or MM. Hence, if you have the possibility to go out with a cable, you can choose your phono preamp. Hence, you can choose the different kinds of cartridges, etc., etc. So it's just something that obviously I think anyone wants to experiment, especially today that we have such amazing quality gear. I want to stay right from the start that I think it is something positive to do. Bypassing the inner system, you can absolutely achieve better quality, a better preamplification, phono preamplification, absolutely. I want to say also that I tried to make the following cable, okay guys? I'm sorry, yes. It is very hard, I want to tell you, I want to warn you. This is a difficult to make cable. You're going to see why. I'm going to show you all the different instruments and more or less the passages required in order to complete your cable. I did not manage to reach the end. I want to tell you, it was just too difficult. I do not have the correct soldering skills just for a start. So let's take this video almost as an indication, not a full tutorial, because I failed, and in the end, you'll see what was my choice. Okay, let's dive in the making. Let's go. Okay guys, so let's start out with the main tools you're going to need to create this cable, as well as other cables actually, because a few components are obviously something you need permanently if you're making your own cables. So if you look at them all together, you might get scared if you never did anything. But if you think of doing your own cables in the future, it's a good investment. Okay, so a first thing you need, I think, is a nice, solid, heavyweight, high-quality clamp, table clamp, so you can put the cable here and you can solder with ease or do other very detailed and precise operations. You need something like this to keep everything stable. It's not 100% necessary, but it's better if you have one. Okay, then a good pair of electrician scissors. These are always very handy. Also for stripping, if you don't have stripping pliers or if you're just used to use these are excellent. try to put everything here if I can. It's not going to be easy. Okay. Obviously, you're going to need a soldering iron, possibly with a temperature regulator in order to decide how much heat you want. This is not a very good one, soldering iron. It's very a normal type, nothing special. Who does his own cables almost every week, I would say, get something better, definitely. I do mine every once in a while, so this is more than enough. Okay. A cutter, you never know, might come in handy. Always keep one on the side. You're going to need some stripping pliers. These are excellent, especially for large cables, even for teeny actually. These are one of the best. Nevertheless, I don't use only these. I also need this other type sometimes, which is just better. It depends. It depends. You can also, as I said, just use the scissors if you prefer. You're going to also need some crimping pliers. These are disgusting quality crimping pliers because I almost never crimp, but it's a good idea to have a good quality crimping plier, which does cost a little bit, but then you'll just keep it practically forever. In any case, this is mine. You're going to need a heat gun. You can also use your hair dryer or even free flame like a lighter, no problem. So it's not 100% necessary. What is this for? Well, for the heat shrink. You're going to need a few pieces, smaller pieces to isolate the cable if necessary, but also a large piece to use it like an envelope for the whole cable. So I'll put some dimensions, some details also in the video description. So don't worry about the dimensions. In any case, afterwards we're going to see the details of the cable components. So according to that, you can find the right measurements. Don't worry about that. Plus, you're going to need some quality soldering lead. Actually, not too much lead. Here, this is one of the best. The Mundorf Supreme. You're going to need also some flux, soldering flux. In case of the Mundorf Supreme, it already has its flux inside, so this is not 100% necessary. This has a high percentage of silver, which makes it even more better for the contact, for the soldering contact. Otherwise, another good one is the Cartas. Again, it's silver-based. So these are excellent, but if you can go over the Mundorf, that's obviously going to be the best. And these are the main tools to do our cable. Now we're going to take a look at the cable itself. Okay, so according to the type of Tonearm you're going to need a different type of connector. If we're more in the 950, 948 models of EMT turntables, then you're probably going to need something like this. Here's a picture of the 7-pin connector. In my case, since I'm doing a cable for the 938, the last model by EMT turntable, then you're going to need the 5-pin connector, which is very small and very difficult to find, and that is why a lot of people are just buying them online. You just need to find the binder 712. Oh, yep. Very simple, even on eBay for just a few dollars, $3, $4. People are saying all over the place, this is hard, difficult to find. It ain't true. It's just a normal, currently produced connector, binder, the 712. Here it says Franz Binder GmbH and Co. I don't know if they are the official producers or even other ones, but in any case, I'll put the description below in the video description, and you can easily find them on eBay and other places. Don't worry. The difficult part, as you can see, of this whole cable actually is soldering teeny weeny wires to this. This is going to be tough because it's very, very small. Hence, you need small cables and you have to be good at soldering. And I am not good at soldering, as you will see. But we're going to try, because actually this is my first attempt, because, as you know, I just got my EMT and I wanted to do my own cable to bypass the phono preamp inside, as I said. Okay, so this is the first part, or the 7-pin, no problem at all. That's also easily found on eBay. Then we're going to need some quality connectors on the other side, normal RCA connectors. I got these from Zavfino. They're pretty good, I think. These are 24 karat gold plated, high conductivity copper. I don't know the grade, the purity, probably OFC, but they may be OCC. I'm not sure actually. In any case, this is a very high quality connector. And I also like a lot how it is made inside. Okay? You need to hold the pin to unscrew them. See? Now we have this part which will grab on the cable, which I like a lot because sometimes the whole cable is only holding on the soldering point. No, this is very, very good. And as you can see, we have a nice hot pole part where you can easily connect the cable, nicely isolated. I don't know, I like the construction. I think it looks nice and it should be very, very good. I already used similar types by Zavfino and I had excellent results. So we also have these. Okay. Then, before going to the cable itself, we're going to need also just a simple small wire, like 1/2 or 1 millimeter for the ground connection, okay? Something very simple. Don't go out and spend too much on this. You can find them already done and ready to use, but they ask like $40, $30. They're also audiophile grade types, but we're talking about the ground, guys. I don't think it's that necessary. So that's something simple like this. You're obviously going to need a connector for this. You can easily find this type of spade. These are standard formats. We're going to need this one, the red one. It's very, very teeny weeny, very simple. I think you can see it. And that's why I was talking about using a crimping tool. As you can see, you have the 3 colors, yellow, blue, and red. These are standard. That's why you have them set up this way. These are standard formats all over the world, and that's why you have a crimping type of plier standard, with standard measures. So we're going to use the red one here on the top. Very easy, very simple. Okay, let's put this back. So we're also going to have this. And what cable are we going to use? Well, I did a lot of research, and in the end, I've came across a wonderful microphone type of cable. Yes, because it is suitable for that very tiny, subtle type of signal coming from your pickup, coming from your cartridge. So it has excellent shielding because microphone cables do have that, and they're just designed to carry that small type of signal, that weak type of signal. And I found this excellent type of cable from Adam Hall, the Crystal Edition. Now, why did I pick this? Obviously, we're just going to use the cable. Okay, we're not going to use the connectors unless you have a phono preamp with balanced inputs, but I doubt that. I don't even know if they exist actually. If you do, or if you made your own, maybe you could keep it on one side. Obviously, on the other, we're going to have to detach everything and connect it to the 712 binder. So why did I pick this? Because there's even better cables from Adam Hall. Well, this is practically the only, we're going to need 2 obviously, the only OCC copper microphone cable. I didn't find any other. So if you do, please write them in the comments. I'll be happy to know about this. Nevertheless, this doesn't cost practically anything. This is $6, $7. That's it. And it's OCC copper. Strangely, it doesn't say so here. But if you go in the description online, it says OCC copper. And if you also check here, I think you can read it. It says, yeah, I think you can read it like this way. It says OCC copper right on the cable. I hope you can see it. In any case, it is. I also wrote at the brand asking them if it was truly Ono continuous cast copper, and they said, oh yeah, baby. Be sure you get this model. Let me read it. It's the K4KMMF. The numbers at the end is just simply the length of the cable. So you're going to find 50, 100, 200, 3, 4, 5. It goes on for miles if you want, obviously, because in the professional environment, they need even miles of cable. And that's why I use balance cables. So I just got 1.5 meters. It's more than sufficient for my needs. But you can pick anything. Just make sure to get the right one with this code. I hope you can see it. There you go. And this is the one with OCC. In any case, just check the pictures and you'll see it's written also on the cable itself. And that's it. We're ready to go. Okay, let's start off preparing our ground wire. So this is ready. You just have to connect it afterwards. You get a little connector. So obviously one side is going to go on the famous and infamous binder 712, and the other one is going to connect directly to the phono preamplifier. Okay, so first of all, we're going to strip this. There we go, nice and clean. It's tied together this way. Then we just put it inside, and then we crimp it. That's it. Done. Ready to go. Number one, out of the scenario, out of the scene. Okay, so we have to also prepare our nice little cable here. So let's take it out from its packaging. Okay. Now the good part of this cable, like all microphone cables I would say, is that it's nice and soft. You can really put it, make it do crazy angles, corners inside the EMT, going around stuff, no problem. This is fabulous from this point of view. Okay, so now these XLR connectors, I see they're partially gold-plated, very low carat maybe. In any case, they're decent quality. Don't throw them away. Now I want to show you how these are connected, but we're going to cut off because obviously we're not going to use the part that is already soldered. Here we go. See, we're going to do something very similar. We're going to need some little pieces like this of shrinking wrap, or simply pieces of plastic wire inside, or tape. I use tape. It's better not to use tape, actually. It's better to use something designed for this use. So as you can see, we have a triple connection because this is a balanced. And now I will show you the scheme on how we're going to do this. In any case, at this point, as I said, we're not going to use this part. This is already gone, already used. So we're going to have to cut it. It's already went across some stress. But you can reuse this. It's easy. You just heat it up and you detached what's on it. Okay? Now we're going to have to reopen the whole thing. In any case, I just wanted to show you this part of the operation. And this is our nice bare cable. Obviously, we're going to repeat this on the other one. When we're done, when we're ready, make sure that it's going to have the same distance, the same length. We're ready to prepare our cable on one side and also the other. So, in this case, I think I'm going to use my large pliers. Let's say this should be enough. I don't want too much, but it does have to go through a nice piece of wire of the body of the binder. So I do need a little bit of, let's say, I don't know, like this. There we go. Okay. So, what we're going to do, we're going to connect to the 5-pin binder. One hot pole of each cable. One cold pole of each cable. On the cold pole, if you can, if it's not too difficult, it's not mandatory, but it's better, you should also connect the braid in order to give a better shielding protection. I'm going to connect it only at the source part, meaning the tone arm, not on the other side. A lot of people like to do it on both sides. You may risk some ground loop. If you don't get ground loop, it's better actually to connect it both sides. But in order to not have any type of issues and reopen the cable, etc., I just do it on one side. But again, you have to connect this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to connect all this, the cable, to this teeny weeny meeny connector. It's insane, it's so small. So you're probably going to have to just pick a few in the center. Okay, we're going to see it afterwards, and connect it to the cold pole. Okay, and afterwards I will show you which is the correct diagram to do this, the scheme, because obviously you need to know which one goes with which cable goes with which part of the connector. Okay. I forgot to mention that before doing this, cutting and preparing your cable, you have to remember, unfortunately, or you have to identify which cable, which conductor is which on the other side. Because unfortunately, they're all black. See? So, when you dismantle the new ones with the XLR connectors still attached, you just have to look for the little number because it says 1, 2, 3, and also here 1, 2, 3. So just remember which is one on both sides, and then perhaps put like a little red mark on one of the conductors so you remember. That's what I did now here. If you already done this, you're gonna need something like this. A small little multimeter. This is very simple, digital one, where you can test where the current, the voltage is passing, and at that point you can understand which cable is which. In any case, I hope you've watched the whole video before starting. Okay guys, so it's not going to be simple because we're going to have to prepare these two cables and then we're going to have to insert it into the binder. Not easy. Let's remove the cotton filling. We don't need that. Okay, the paper. Keep everything nice and clean always. Then we're going to have to peel these two. Remember which is the red one. Okay. Always tie them. It's a good idea. Twist them. Okay. Now these are rather thin. Okay, in the end, they're rather thin. Not extremely thin, but as I said before, we're going to have to just pick a small part of this. Since the braid is all connected between itself, you just need a few little wires, okay? which will be connected directly to the cold pole. Or you can just tie it before the cold pole is soldered to the final point, but that's a little more complicated. I would try to put them together. Like, for example, here we have this huge braid, just too much. Let's divide it. Let's get just a few little wires, as I said. Let's see if this can be done easily, but because they are a little more stiff to twist. See, now I have one little extra cable which I can join with the cold pole. The rest I just cut off at this point. Here we go. If you want, you can put afterwards some heat shrink or something to isolate each part. That's always a good idea. In any case, I don't think this is enough. As I said, this is the first time I'm doing this cable, so I'm just understanding how to do it within the process. I'm going to try to detach another piece, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to fit it inside the binder together with another cable, unfortunately. So let's take one little piece, extra piece off, just to make sure. I put a red dot here, so this is going to be my hot pole, this is going to be my cold pole. It can be left, it can be right, we don't have to decide. Actually, the type of DIN allows you to connect it practically however you want. You're always in time to change it. You'll see what I mean afterwards. Okay, so before, you have to obviously going to do the same thing for the other cable. But before doing that, you can just do it on your own. You're not going to see that. I wanted to show you a little more in depth the binder, because obviously we're going to start to put the pieces on here before soldering the final part. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to put an image now here to show you how the different parts go one inside another. Nevertheless, I want to show you also by hand. So this is the final part of the connector. This is the connector itself with the pins on this part, and here, as we said before, we're gonna solder the different parts, the different cables, the different wires. So this is gonna go in here, okay, just like this. So it's gonna come out a little bit afterwards. Plus this other part, we're gonna have this part here, which goes inside here, and actually it's going to twist, and let me show you. See here? It's gonna screw on, okay? That's what we want here in this case. So we have this part which is gonna screw on. On this side, we're gonna have this part here. I don't know if you can see it, with this small little piece of rubber. You're going to put it inside, and you're just going to drop it inside here, actually. And this is also going to help you. I'm not going to push it now, afterwards. It's going to help you also in screwing this final part. So it's going to have some pressure, it's going to have some resistance, and it's going to lock better in position. The difficult part is that, unfortunately, all cables have to pass in here. Not easy. And that's why you don't want, actually, this part here. This is too fat. We're going to need as much bare cable as possible, because everything has to pass. Plus, also our ground. So, can't forget also the ground, which is going to be on the other side. So, we can also already strip this other side. We don't need too much. Okay. This is a little fat, a little thick. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to take away a few wires here because it's just too thick. And you can do this also with other wires. If you're not gonna do this cable with the wires, with the cables I'm telling you, you can just do something like this, see? Get just a part of the conductor. The rest, you cut. No problem with that. Let me clean it off. Okay. Because in the end, they're all connected below. Yes, it's better to have a large surface, but in this case, we just don't have that much space on the final contacts here. They're just too teeny weeny. So, at this point, we're going to try to insert everything. Let's try to assemble the cable. Actually, I had to peel them even more because I did a test and it wasn't fitting. So as you can see, almost half a finger. Let's say around 4 centimeters more or less. When you have a similar situation, keep everything as thin as possible because otherwise you're not going to be able to fit everything. I even completely skinned this little baby here, the ground for the turntable. I'm going to put a little piece of heat shrink afterwards in order to protect all this bare part. But I had to remove all this plastic here, otherwise it wasn't going to go inside the binder. So when you get this type of cable for it, try to get a very, very thin. It doesn't have to be thick, okay? It'll make everything much easier. Okay, let's try. You have to put everything together like this and start inserting the back parts. First of all, the final screw, plastic screw, okay, which will already fix in position, actually, a good part of the cable. I'm not going to put the heat shrink now because I have the other side open. So no problem there. I can put the heat shrink afterwards to cover everything from the other side, okay? So remember that we're going to have to do that before connecting the RCA cables, obviously. Okay, so first part inserted. Then we're going to have to put this part. As I showed you before, there's that little part of rubber that goes inside this other part in plastic. It goes this way. In any case, you just have to look at that scheme I showed you before and insert it accordingly. This is a little tricky because it's kind of small. Okay, now another important point here is that you must remember before locking everything into position the couple of cables. It doesn't matter to remember which is left, which is right. You can decide that right up to until the end, because even the way this is built, it's not necessarily fundamental to get the right and the left. You could switch them in the end, actually. In any case, let's focus now on this part. You have to understand the couple, the pair of cables coming from each main cable. Let's call them like that. So I can see that these two go together. So for now, for example, I'm going to tie them up, and these other go together. So at least I know which is which, okay? For this part of the assembly. Okay, then we're going to have to put also this part here. This way. Again, follow that scheme, that image I showed you before to perfectly understand the direction. We can actually already screw this part so it's nice and firm. No problem with that. Just a little bit at least. Okay. And now we have our nice cables. So you should end up with the two pair of cables of one cable, well, let's call them the two wires of one cable, and its ground on one side, The same for the other cable on the other side. I just twisted them now so I can recognize them. That's a good idea. It's easy just to untie them, untwist them. And also, by its own, the ground cable, okay? The turntable ground for the chassis. Okay, now, actually, we can start to solder. Okay, I'm in the process now to connect, to solder each little cable to each little connector of the main connector. First, I fixed in position the connector here. Then I added some lead on each little teeny weeny connector in order to already have its lead inside. Then you just put close the wire. You use your soldering iron directly on the wire, so it heats up, and it'll heat up the soldering wire, and at that point you can insert it. What I suggest to do is to put a little piece of heat shrink. I put it already here in position, but then I'm gonna take it away and put it behind on the rear part of the little cable I'm gonna go and solder, because otherwise it's gonna melt. And afterwards I'll pull it down like a condom. Okay, let's try now to connect this other guy here. Make sure everything is nice and tight. Try to make a clean joint. Not like I'm doing. I'm not good at this, I know. In order to have it nice and shiny, I know the rules. I'm gonna pull down this heat shrink in order to isolate that teeny weeny little connector. There we go. 2 done, 3 to go. And just repeat. Okay guys, in the end, as I told you in the beginning of this video actually, I never made it. It was just too difficult. The final result should have been something like this, with the shrink wrap, the connector, and on the other sides, obviously, the RCA with its nice ground cable right here. But no way, Jose, too difficult. Also, I lost my sight, so I'm just gonna have to close here and buy it at Mr. Douche. Bye.
Okay guys, as you have seen, unfortunately I wasn't able to complete my cable as I said. Nevertheless, there are some solutions. As I mentioned in the past video, there is Studio Technic Douche, which is he is an ex-engineer that used to work at EMT. He is still based in Lar, and he has all sorts of different kinds of accessories and turntables themselves. Plus, he also sells cables. You can find the 7-pin type for the older models. Here's an image. But also the current 5-pin models. I've shown you how to do it by yourself if you want. Otherwise, if you don't have the time, if you don't have the skills, this is an excellent solution. I received the cable a few days ago. I've been testing it. It's a high quality OFC cable. It's not OCC as I wanted to do with mine, but you can't have everything. I mean, it is nevertheless an excellent cable, which allows you finally independence. Then, perhaps in a future video, I'll show you a little bit more how to change the head shell, how to use different cartridges, how to align them, because as we said, EMT has a closed system. Okay, so if you want to buy your own cable, for example, the one on Douche, or sometimes you can also find older models perhaps made by hand by someone else on eBay. There are a few, especially the 7-pin ones, which are more easy to solder actually. you have to flip over or go underneath your turntable, unscrew everything, and make sure that the turntable is fixed, as I indicated in the other video. Okay, guys? Because I didn't and I had issues. I'm not learning from my own mistakes. You have to fix everything with the different screws. Again, check that video to learn how. And at that point, you can tilt it very gently, or better, if you go underneath, unscrew everything, detach the cable, and insert your own. And at that point, you establish where to make the cable come out, because that's also going to be an issue. You can unscrew one of the XLR connections, for example, the one of the headphones. That's an option. Or the remote control plug. You can also unattach that one. Or, as I did, there are some holes in the lower part of the chassis where you unscrew this underneath part, and there are holes because they used to put them to move the plate. I am making those cables coming out of that hole. Nevertheless, I do need some spacing. Otherwise, the turntable, when it's put back in position, is going to rest on those cables, and you don't want that. You don't want to squish them. Plus, the turntable is not going to be precisely aligned and leveled. So, what is a good solution? What did I did? I bought some plastic silicone spacers. You can find them also on Amazon. There was already a little felt, and I put the plastic little things, the plastic little feet, in order to have that thickness and have the ability, the agility to make the cable go wherever I want. You just have to get a enough thick one. I would say at least like 1.5 of my fingers, or let's say 2.5 centimeters. I'll put the inches here. So you do need a little bit of spacing. So it's not going to be beautiful to see the turntable from the side if you have a sight view. Nevertheless, if you use this solution, you are going to be able to slip the cable wherever you want. And I think it's the best, so you don't have to unscrew everything. Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you weren't too, I don't know, I didn't leave you down because I didn't complete my cable, but this is an honest blog, as you know, an honest channel. I mean, if I do not reach determined objectives, I want to tell you, I want to inform you, but I do think there is something good in this video which will help you decide how to proceed. Bye, guys, and remember, music is born analog.
Well, guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel, please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.